The separatist movement carried out by the armed criminal group, better known as the OPM, Free of Papua Organization, has had more massive impact every year on government officials and even on the Papuan people themselves. This was marked by the official determination of the KKB Papua group as a terrorist organization by the Coordinating Minister for Political, Legal and Security Affairs Mahfud MD on Thursday 29th April 2021. This labeling has brought several harvests of approval and opposition from various parties, but the impact that should be anticipated is the risk of increasing cases of human rights violations in Papua, which have become the impetus for the separatist movement in Papua, and even risk of being supported by countries around Indonesia. Before discussing the impact, let's understand the history of this group labeled as a terrorist organization. The Free Papua Organization was founded in December 1961 to oppose the Republic of Indonesia's control over Irian Jaya, or better known as Papua and West Papua. They claim that Papua is a sovereign territory that wants to form an independent state and nation. During the administration of President Habibie, a policy was adopted to grant special autonomy to Papua. At that time, the government poured out a sizable budget for Papua. However, it turns out that this budget is only enjoyed by the Papuan elite and does not reach the lowest strata of society. This gave rise to a more massive resistance movement. One of them was various criminal acts. In international law, OPM is considered as a terrorist. OPM controls quite a lot of territory. OPM gets broad support from majority of the people of the region, and of course, OPM can fulfill international obligations. The term armed criminal group itself is pinned because, first, what the OPM movement is doing is considered an ordinary crime. Second, OPM is considered a sporadic group, not an organization. The authority is also different. When using the KKB status for OPM, the authority lies with the police because they are considered ordinary criminals. Meanwhile, if the status is an armed separatist group, then its authority is under the control of M.H.I. So that so far the handling of OPM has been fully under the command of the police with the assistance of the M.H.I as a partner.
Mahfud MD, as the Minister of Political, Legal and Security Affairs, believed that the inclusion of murder and violence is the reason for the government to designate the armed criminal group KKB in Papua as a terrorist organization. This is also following that was stated by the chairman of the MPR, Bambang Susatyo, for the leader of state institution regarding the increasingly massive violence carried out by the KKB recently. However, Governor of Papua Province Lukas NMB rejected the labeling because the impact would be so broad. Human rights activist Veronica Koman also rejected the decision because it could result in breaking up effort to resolve the conflict through peaceful means. Another contra statement was made by Amnesty International Indonesia, which believed that clarifying the KKB as a terrorist organization would not end human rights violation. For this reason, criminal act committed against non-state actor through a legal approach should be defended. Labeling the KKB as a terrorist can increase the risk of human rights violation in the land of Papua. Based on data recorded by the National Commission of Human Rights, in the 2020 and 2021 period before the status of a terrorist group was assigned, there was 1,182 cases of violence that occurred in Papua, and 41.31% of them were related to police work. Within 2 years, the typology of violence reported was violence with a total of 71 cases, 18 cases of arbitrary detention, 162 cases of slow handling, 52 cases of criminalization, and 11 cases of detainee death. Based on this data, it can be concluded that cases of violence in Papua were relatively high before the labeling of terrorism. However, it is feared that this labeling will increase the amount of violence that occurs in Papua, resulting in an increase in cases of human rights violation because it is estimated that the determination of KKB as a terrorist group will have social, economic, legal impact on Papuan in general. The increase in act of militarism based on Law Number 5 on 2018 also specifically increased the risk of human rights violation, both from the KKB group itself and from the security forces.
Chapter 4. The issue of human rights violation that occurred in Papua can be used by certain parties inside and outside Indonesia in supporting the separatist movement. If we look at the level of analysis between countries, the issue of human rights violation in Papua has been touched upon by several countries in the Pacific, including Vanuatu, Palau, Tuvalu, Marshall Islands, Solomon Islands, and Nauru. There is also support for separatism in Papua, which is carried out covertly by Indonesia, neighboring countries, where it is not clear what the smuggling of weapons belonging to the KKB group is. It is also recorded that in 2006 Australia provided assistance to the separatist movement, which was marked by the granting of political asylum to 43 Indonesian citizens. In addition, there are documents showing that a former lieutenant in the Australian Army prepared price for various types of weapons to be sent to the Free Papua organization. Meanwhile, according to Levy's observation, weapon suppliers to KKB, apart from Australia, are suspected to have come from Papua New Guinea and the southern Philippines. For surrounding countries, the existence of separatism can bring a number of benefits from economic factors, where it is easier to cooperate with one in managing natural resource owned and based on political factors. Support for Papuan separatism can strengthen public opinion toward certain political leaders. The conclusion drawn is that labeling the KKB as a terrorist group has the risk of increasing the number of human rights violations in Papua, which can later be used by countries, especially countries surrounding Indonesia, in policing Papuan separatism. In addition to reaping the pros and cons of labeling these terrorists, every action taken can certainly affect conflict that occur both domestically and to foreign countries. However, in hope that every action taken in the future can achieve peace for the Papuan people and maintain the unity of the Republic of Indonesia.